Our top story this hour, the United Nations Security Council held closed-door consultations amid escalating tensions between India and Pakistan over the terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam that killed 26 people. While the meeting ended without a clear outcome or statement, sources say Security Council members raised tough questions for Pakistan. They say that the members refused to accept the narrative by Pakistan. They asked the country whether Lashkar-e-Toiba was likely involved in the Pahalgam attack. The members condemned the terrorist attack, with some specifically bringing up the targeting of tourists on the basis of their religion. The UNSC meet came after Pakistan, as a non-permanent member, sought to brief member states about the current situation, which it highlighted presents a serious risk of escalation and poses a threat to both regional and international peace and security.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed deep concern over the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan on Monday, calling the current situation, quote, the most serious in years ahead of Monday's closed-door UN Security Council consultations on the India-Pakistan question. Antonio Guterres said, quote unquote, it pains me to see relations reaching a boiling point. Targeting civilians is unacceptable, he added, and those responsible must be brought to justice through transparent, credible, and lawful means. While the UN chief urged both countries to exercise, quote-unquote, maximum restraint, Pakistan has continued to deny any involvement in the attack, despite India pointing to links with Pakistan-based, UN-sanctioned Lashkar-e-Taiba group. In a provocative move, Pakistan's ambassador to Moscow warned that it would use, quote unquote, the full spectrum of power, both conventional and nuclear, if war breaks out. I asked about that statement and similar ones made by Pakistani officials in recent days from Pakistan's ambassador to the United Nations here after he gave a statement. He did not respond. Meanwhile, after the closed-door consultations, the Greek ambassador to the UN, current president of the Security Council, said the meeting was helpful and productive.
Now, the meeting came just hours after the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged the neighboring countries to exercise maximum restraint to avoid further deterioration of geopolitical stability.
It is also essential, especially at this critical hour, to avoid a military confrontation that could easily spin out of control. Now is the time for maximum restraint and stepping back from the brink. That has been my message in my ongoing outreach with both countries.
Now, earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin called Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and extended full support to India in its fight against terrorism. According to an official statement, he emphasized that the perpetrators of the heinous attack and their supporters must be brought to justice. On the other hand, in Islamabad, the Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, called on President Asif Ali Zardari, Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari, to discuss the regional security situation. Also, Zardari met Chinese ambassador to Pakistan and exchanged views on the ongoing situation. The envoy reaffirmed China's support for Pakistan. India continues to assess its options in response to the April 22nd attack. Prime Minister Modi held a high-level security review with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. He separately met Defence Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh, Home Secretary Govind Mohan and other key officials. Tensions continue to escalate along the line of control for the 12th consecutive night. Pakistan resorted to small arm firing along LOC in areas opposite Kupwara, Baramulla, Poonch, Rajouri, Nowshera, Sundarbani and Akhnur in Jammu and Kashmir. The Indian Army responded promptly and proportionately. All right, for more on this, we're being joined by our Assistant Editor, Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal. Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we do know that there was not really a conclusion or any sort of an outcome that came out of this UNSC meet. But what does appear to be clear is that there was a complete dismissal of the narrative that was being put forth by Pakistan. They were also quizzed and grilled with tough questions over the involvement of LET. What's the latest that you can tell us on this, Siddhant?
Well, on expected lines, we know that Pakistan could not muster up much support. In fact, when the Pakistani ambassador to the UN held a press statement, there were no press, there were no foreign envoys accompanying him, and essentially we know that no outcomes came in terms of press statement or press releases. So, all in all, a closed-door consultative meeting ended up with no major outcome. Something we saw in the past as well in 2019.
Right, absolutely, Siddhant. That being said, with the closed-door consultations that were held today, what can we expect going forward?
I couldn't hear you properly, but essentially we know that the Pakistani side is a non-permanent member of the UNSC, and it is at their request that the meeting was convened. But the fact that being a non-permanent member also, it could not convene an open conversation shows that there was no support for the Pakistani side for holding a meeting.
All right. Well, Siddhant, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. Of course, how things pan out going forward between the two remains to be seen. For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.